My future mother-in-law secretly canceled my entire wedding weeks before the date because she disapproved of me. Instead of letting her win, my fiancé and I ditched the big plans, eloped beautifully, and started our marriage strong by setting firm boundaries against her. Hi everyone. My name is Sophia. I'm 28 years old, and I need to share something that happened to me. Something that completely turned my life upside down just when I thought everything was falling into place. I'm still trying to process it all, honestly, and maybe telling you guys will help. I also genuinely want to know what you would have done if you think I handled things the right way. So, let's start from what felt like the beginning. Though looking back, maybe the real beginning was much earlier. I was engaged to Michael. He's wonderful, kind, funny, smart, and we just clicked from the moment we met a few years ago. We dated, fell deeply in love, and when he proposed, it was one of the happiest days of my life. We decided on a wedding date about a year out, giving us plenty of time to plan what we hoped would be a beautiful, meaningful celebration with our family and friends. Michael comes from a nice family. His dad is quiet, generally keeps to himself, but always pleasant. His mom is a different story. From the start, she was very involved. At first, I tried to see it as enthusiasm, maybe a bit overbearing, but ultimately well-intentioned. She wanted to be part of the planning, offered opinions on everything from the venue to the flower arrangements, the guest list, even my dress. Looking back, the signs were there. Her suggestions often felt more like directives. When we picked our venue, a lovely old manor house with beautiful gardens, she initially praised it, but then started finding fault. "Are you sure it's big enough, dear? Michael has so many family friends." Or, "The catering options seem a bit plain. Are you sure you don't want something more sophisticated?" She'd often say these things with a smile, making it hard to push back without seeming difficult or ungrateful, especially since she and Michael's dad had generously offered to contribute a significant amount towards the wedding costs. I remember one specific incident during dress shopping. I'd found a dress I absolutely adored. It wasn't overly fancy, more elegant and timeless, which is my style. I felt beautiful in it. My mom cried. My best friend Eleanor cheered. Michael's mom was there too, of course. She just tilted her head and said, "It's nice, Sophia. Very simple. Are you sure it's formal enough for the venue we chose?" The emphasis on "we" stung, as did the subtle implication that my choice wasn't quite good enough. I bought the dress anyway, but her comment lingered, planting a tiny seed of self-doubt. I tried talking to Michael about his mom's constant interference. He'd usually sigh and say something like, "Yeah, Mom can be a lot, but she means well. She's just excited." Or, "Just try to humor her, Sophia. It's easier than arguing." He didn't like conflict, especially with his mother, and I understood that. I didn't want to cause friction between them, so I often bit my tongue, smiled politely, and tried to navigate her suggestions as best I could, gently steering things back to what Michael and I actually wanted. It was exhausting, like constantly walking on eggshells. As the wedding date got closer, about 3 months out, her involvement seemed to ramp up. She started calling vendors directly just to check on things. She added people to the guest list without consulting us first, mostly her friends or distant relatives Michael barely knew. When I gently pointed out that we were already over capacity and budget, she waved it off. "Oh, don't worry about the cost, dear. We'll handle it. It's important these people are there." It felt less like generosity and more like she was buying control. The tension was building, not just with my future mother-in-law, but subtly between Michael and me too. He felt caught in the middle, and I felt increasingly unsupported and steamrolled. We had a few arguments, usually ending with him promising to talk to her, but things never really changed. I confided in Eleanor, who was getting increasingly frustrated on my behalf. "Sophia, this isn't normal," she'd say. "She's treating this like it's her wedding, not yours and Michael's. You need to set some firmer boundaries." I knew she was right, but I honestly didn't know how without causing a massive family blow-up, something I desperately wanted to avoid before the wedding. Then came the day it all imploded. It was a Tuesday afternoon, about 10 weeks before the wedding. I was at work, trying to focus on a project deadline, when my phone rang. It was the manager from our wedding venue, Mrs. Davis. "Hi, Sophia," she said, sounding a bit hesitant. "I'm just calling to confirm the cancellation of your wedding booking for September 15th. I froze. My blood ran cold. "Cancellation? I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. What are you talking about? We haven't canceled anything. There was a pause on the other end. Oh, she said, sounding confused now. That's strange. We received a call last week, confirming the cancellation and requesting the return of the deposit. The caller identified herself as Michael's mother and said you both had decided on a different direction. My mind went blank for a second, then raced. Michael's mother? Canceled? Without telling us. It didn't seem possible. It felt like a prank, a horrible mistake. There must be a misunderstanding, I stammered. We absolutely did not cancel. Can you tell me exactly who called and when? Mrs. Davis confirmed the call came the previous Thursday from someone identifying herself as Michael's mother. She had sounded very convincing, apparently expressing regret, but stating the decision was final due to unforeseen circumstances. The venue had processed the cancellation and had already mailed the deposit refund check, minus a cancellation fee, of course, to Michael's parents' address. I felt sick. My hands were shaking as I hung up the phone. This couldn't be real. Maybe Mrs. Davis was mistaken? Maybe it was some bizarre administrative error? My first instinct was denial. I immediately called our caterer. Hi, this is Sophia, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm just calling to confirm our menu selections for the September 15th wedding. Sophia, the caterer replied. I thought that date was canceled. We got a call last week saying the wedding was off. My heart sank like a stone. It wasn't a mistake. It was real. Panic started to set in. The photographer, the florist, the band, I called them all. Same story. Canceled. All initiated by a call from Michael's mother last week. She had systematically dismantled our wedding, vendor by vendor, behind our backs. I couldn't breathe. I felt dizzy, betrayed, and utterly bewildered. Why would she do this? How could she do this? I left work immediately, driving home in a daze, tears streaming down my face. I needed to talk to Michael. When Michael got home from work, he found me curled up on the sofa, still shaking. I could barely get the words out between sobs. When I finally managed to explain what happened, his reaction went from confusion to disbelief, then to a quiet, simmering anger I'd rarely seen in him. Mom wouldn't do that, he said initially, pacing the living room. There has to be a mistake, Sophia. She wouldn't just cancel our wedding. Michael, I spoke to them. I cried. The venue, the caterer, everyone. They all said your mother called last week and canceled everything. He pulled out his phone, his face grim. I'm calling her right now. He put the phone on speaker. It rang several times before she picked up, sounding cheerful and completely normal. Michael. Hi, sweetie, how was your day? Michael didn't waste time with pleasantries. Mom, he said, his voice tight. Did you cancel the wedding vendors? There was a sudden silence on the line. Then, her voice changed, becoming defensive. Michael, I was going to talk to you about it. I just felt things were getting out of hand. The stress, the expense. I thought maybe you both needed to reconsider. Take a step back. You thought we needed to reconsider? Michael's voice rose. So you took it upon yourself to call everyone and cancel our wedding without saying a single word to me or Sophia. Do you have any idea what you've done? I was trying to help, she insisted, her voice starting to quiver, playing the victim. Sophia seemed so stressed, and the costs were spiraling. I thought a smaller, simpler affair might be better. Maybe just family. Help. I finally found my voice, standing up, trembling with rage and hurt. You call this helping? You went behind our backs, lied to the vendors, and destroyed months of planning. You didn't think to ask us? You just decided for us. Well, Sophia, you seemed rather overwhelmed, she said, her tone shifting to condescending. And frankly, some of your choices were questionable. I was concerned Michael wasn't getting the wedding he deserved. That was it. The mask slipped. It wasn't about stress or cost. It was about control and her disapproval of me. Michael heard it too. Mom, how could you? He said, his voice filled with disappointment and anger. This was our decision, our wedding. What you did is unbelievable. You canceled our wedding behind our backs. I did what I thought was best for my son, she retorted, defiant now. No, you did what you wanted. Michael shot back. We need to figure out what to do now. Don't call us. We'll call you. He hung up the phone, his face pale. We just stood there in silence for a moment, the reality crashing down on us. Our wedding, the one we'd poured our hearts, time, and money into, was gone. Canceled. Undone by the woman who was supposed to be welcoming me into her family. The sense of betrayal was profound, cutting deeper than just the canceled plans. It was a fundamental violation of trust. The next few days were a blur of frantic phone calls, damage control, and emotional exhaustion. We tried to see if anything could be salvaged. Could we rebook? The venue was already taken for our date. Some vendors were willing to work with us if we found a new date and venue, but others had non-refundable policies or cancellation fees that ate up our deposits. The money his parents had contributed? His mom had already requested the refunds be sent to her, effectively holding it hostage. We discovered she'd actually used the excuse with some vendors that we, Michael and I, had broken up, adding another layer of humiliation to the situation. Michael did confront his dad, who seemed genuinely shocked and appalled by his wife's actions. He claimed he had no idea she'd gone that far, though he admitted she had been complaining about the wedding plans constantly. He promised to talk to her, but seemed largely ineffective against her strong will. Eleanor was my rock through all this. She came over immediately, armed with tissues, wine, and righteous indignation. She helped me make lists, field calls, and just let me vent and cry. My own parents were horrified and furious on my behalf, offering unwavering support and telling me they'd back whatever decision Michael and I made. Michael, to his credit, was furious with his mother. The incident seemed to finally open his eyes to the true extent of her controlling behavior. He told her in no uncertain terms that what she did was unforgivable and that there would be serious consequences for their relationship. She alternated between tearful apologies, justifications, and blaming me for stressing Michael out and making unreasonable demands. It was a masterclass in manipulation, but Michael wasn't buying it anymore. Amidst the chaos and heartbreak, something started to shift within me. The initial devastation gave way to a cold, hard anger, and then, surprisingly, a strange sense of clarity. Eleanor had been right. This wasn't just about a canceled wedding. It was about a pattern of disrespect and control that would likely have continued long after we said, "I do." Her actions, while malicious, had inadvertently forced a crisis that needed to happen. We couldn't build a healthy marriage with that kind of interference looming over us. Michael and I had long, difficult conversations over the next week. We talked about his mom, about the boundaries that had been crossed, about what we truly wanted for our wedding and our future. We acknowledged the pain and the loss of the wedding we'd planned, the loss of deposits, the loss of the naive belief that his mom, despite her flaws, ultimately wanted us happy. But we also realized we had a choice. We could try to pick up the pieces, reschedule a similar big wedding, perhaps try to force an apology and reconciliation with his mom, and hope for the best. Or we could take this as an opportunity to redefine what getting married meant to us. The thought of planning another big wedding, dealing with the family drama, the gossip, because believe me, news traveled fast, especially when Michael's cousin Jack called asking Michael if the breakup rumors were true, and the constant reminder of the betrayal felt utterly draining. It felt tainted. So, we made a different decision. A radical one, maybe, but one that felt increasingly right. What if we just elope? I suggested one evening, exhausted but resolute. Just us. Or maybe just our parents and siblings, somewhere beautiful, somewhere completely disconnected from all this drama. Michael looked at me, and I saw a flicker of relief in his eyes. You'd be okay with that? No big party, no fancy reception. Michael, I said, taking his hands. All I ever wanted was to marry you. The party, the dress, the venue, that was all secondary. After this, it feels meaningless. What feels meaningful is starting our life together, on our terms, without interference. He pulled me close. I want that too, Sophia. More than anything. We decided to do it. We canceled the few remaining vendors we hadn't confirmed were already canceled. We told our parents and siblings our new plan. A small, intimate ceremony in 2 weeks' time, in a beautiful spot by the coast we both loved, followed by a simple dinner. No fuss, no drama. Just us and the people who genuinely supported our union. We then had the difficult task of informing Michael's parents. Michael made the call, with me sitting beside him holding his hand. He was calm but firm. He told his mother that her actions had severe consequences. We were getting married in 2 weeks, quietly, and she was not invited. He explained that the trust was broken, and while the door wasn't permanently slammed shut, rebuilding any kind of relationship would require significant changes on her part, including acknowledging the harm she caused, a sincere apology, not excuses, and respecting our boundaries moving forward. We also made it clear that we expected her to return any deposit money she had managed to get refunded, as it was either our money or money given as a gift for our wedding, not hers to reclaim. Her reaction was predictable: tears, accusations of cruelty, claims that I had turned her son against her. Michael held firm. He ended the call by saying the decision was made and we needed space. His dad later called Michael privately, expressing sadness but understanding, and promising to make sure the refunded deposit money was returned to us. He sounded defeated. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind, but a completely different kind. Instead of stress and external pressure, there was a sense of liberation and quiet excitement. We booked a small inn near the coast, found an officiant. I bought a simple, beautiful white sundress off the rack. Michael wore a suit he already owned. Our parents and my sister, and Michael's brother, were overjoyed for us, supportive and helpful. Eleanor, of course, was thrilled and stepped in as my de facto maid of honor, witness, and chief supporter. The day itself was perfect. Not perfect in the way our original wedding might have been. No grand venue, no huge guest list, no elaborate decorations. But perfect because it was ours. We exchanged vows on a cliff overlooking the ocean, with just our immediate families there. The sun was shining, the air was fresh, and the love and support surrounding us felt genuine and unconditional. There were tears, but they were happy tears. Later, at the dinner, Michael raised a toast. He spoke about love, resilience, and about how sometimes unexpected events force you to focus on what truly matters. He looked at me, and his eyes held so much love and conviction. "This," he said, gesturing to our small gathering, "this is what matters. Us, starting our life together, supported by the people who truly wish us well." It's been a few months now since that day. Michael and I are happier than ever. Our bond feels stronger, forged in the fire of that crisis. We learned to communicate better, to rely on each other, and to stand united against external pressures. We bought a small house with the money we saved, and the deposit money his dad eventually made sure we got back. As for my mother-in-law, the relationship is strained, to say the least. She has sent messages, oscillating between apologies that sound more like justifications and passive-aggressive comments about being excluded. Michael maintains boundaries. We see her occasionally, in short doses, usually with his dad present. There's no more assumption of involvement in our lives. She hasn't truly acknowledged the depth of what she did, and until she does, the trust isn't there. It's sad, in a way, because I know it hurts Michael, but we both agree that protecting our peace and the sanctity of our marriage comes first. Looking back, it was an incredibly painful experience. The betrayal felt immense. But strangely, I find myself feeling grateful, not for her actions, never for that, but grateful for the outcome. That huge, expensive wedding we were planning felt increasingly like it was for everyone else. The stress, the pressure, the constant compromises, it wasn't really us. Her drastic actions, horrible as they were, forced us off that track and onto a path that felt much more authentic. We got married on our terms, focused entirely on each other, and started our marriage by setting firm, necessary boundaries. We're arguably stronger and better off now than if we'd gone through with the original wedding, only to face her continued interference down the line. So that's my story. It's still raw sometimes when I think about the sheer audacity of it all. But we survived, and I think we thrived. Now, I put it to you, what do you think? Did we do the right thing by eloping and cutting her out of the ceremony? Was it too harsh, or was it the only way to protect ourselves? What would you have done if your future mother-in-law canceled your wedding behind your back? I'd really appreciate hearing your thoughts and any advice you might have on navigating the relationship with her moving forward. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our daily updates.